Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has had a very busy week, waging war against Mickey Mouse, math textbooks, and Twitter. DeSantis is looking to end Disney World's special self-governing status after the company came out against Florida's Don't Say Gay bill. At the same time, his Department of Education is rejecting math textbooks for supposedly mentioning critical race theory. Yes, math textbooks. The state rejected a record 41% of submitted math books from publishers for attempting to, quote, indoctrinate students. DeSantis and his lieutenants have been talking a lot about these pesky math books, but they've yet to provide any evidence to support their claims.
What we've seen is obviously a systematic attempt by these publishers to infiltrate our children's education by embedding topics such as critical race theory.
Will you be releasing a list with the specific reasons for each of those rejections in those tests?
Richard, they're right now, so what we do is we reject it. It's not us, but we have reviewers, and these reviewers are top-notch math experts from around the state.
I didn't really know, but that's so like the textbook publishers.
It's copyrighted.
Yeah, it's copyrighted. So I'm totally. I told them, I said, the minute if they let you release it. You know, we obviously want people to be able to see that.
Well, we want to see it too, Governor. How does that saying go? Put up or shut up. And then there's Twitter, which DeSantis is targeting after the company took action to prevent a takeover by Elon Musk.
The state of Florida and our pension system, we have shares of Twitter. I didn't buy it. We have people that run the fund. But nevertheless, it hasn't exactly been great in returns on investment. It's been pretty stagnant. So we're going to be looking at ways that the state of Florida potentially can be holding these Twitter board of directors accountable for breaching their fiduciary duty.
Twitter, Disney World, math books. Those seem to be the issues top of mind for the governor of Florida right now. But let's be clear. There are real problems in Florida, like the cost of living. Rent is soaring across the state, outpacing the national average. In Tampa, rents have increased by 28% over the past year. Here in Miami, rents are up nearly 36%. That is the highest increase in the entire United States. And here's what one couple in Jacksonville had to say to 60 Minutes about what they are facing.
When they first rented their apartment a year and a half ago, they were paying just over $1,000 a month.
I eventually came to terms with them for a 30% increase, which was $300.
Still 30%.
I've never heard of anything like that.
Do you know why your rent jumped that much?
They told me the market justified it, and they were right, because I looked at 30 other apartments, and they were all way too much for us to afford.
That's just one story among many of everyday folks. Millennials, boomers, retirees, Floridians of all backgrounds who are now struggling to pay the rent. But that's not the Republican playbook this year. Instead, it's the look at me, shiny baubles of the culture wars. Joining me now is Democrat Nikki Fried, the Florida Commissioner of Agriculture and a candidate for Florida governor. Nikki, thank you so much for being with us today. I know you've been busy touring the state, talking to so many people who are having similar difficulties paying their rent because of the rising cost of living. What's going to be your solution to this problem, as well as the other major financial issues confronting Floridians if you're elected governor of the state?
Well, first of all, Katie, thank you so much for having me on. Congratulations on your new shows. But you're right. What we are seeing all across our state is heartbreaking. You know, I was also born and raised here in Miami. What we are seeing, not just in Miami-Dade, but Central Florida, North Florida, 30, 40, 50, 60% rent increases in our state. People can't afford to live here. We're seeing also doubling of property insurance and, of course, property taxes because of the just increase of the home values. And so we have said in the last week and a half, we toured our entire state, launching our policy tours of lower cost, higher standards. Day one, I would be issuing a state of emergency, because that is exactly what is happening here in our state, asking for the Attorney General and attorneys all across, state attorneys all across our state to consider price gouging, because that's what it is too. Anything over 10% is price gouging. This is not inflation. This is people taking advantage of a current situation, predatory landlords who are seeing a dollar sign associated associated with it. We also have been gutting our affordable trust funds for over 25 years. $2.3 billion that have been gutted from our affordable trust funds that should have been used to building more affordable homes. So now we have a supply problem. I will never, ever vote for sign off on a budget that has any dollars leaving that trust fund. This is the things that has to happen. These are things that should have been happening. And it's unfortunate that this legislature, who is in special session this week, still didn't deal with those issues and are spending taxpayer dollars bringing people back for legislative session to deal with maps, our congressional maps, taking away rights of our minority voters and limiting the amount of minority access districts here in our state.
So in the midst of your candidacy for governor and also in the middle of a midterm election year, you just announced yesterday that you are suing the Biden administration to block a federal rule prohibiting medical marijuana users from purchasing firearms. With gun violence causing so much pain across the country, even in our own backyard, for example, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas and Parkland, do we really need more people having access to firearms?
And Kate, that's not the issue, quite honestly. The issue is very simple. You know, it is in our Constitution that patients have a right to access to medicinal cannabis. And right now they are prohibited from purchasing a firearm. And we have seen study after study that marijuana users don't increase more violence. This is a discrimination against marijuana patients. This is something that I've been an advocate for, not only on gun rights issues, but able to have housing, VA benefits, employment status. We're seeing this discrimination coming from the federal level. And you're absolutely right, you know, that the gun violence in our state and across the country continues to increase. And so the federal government absolutely needs to continue moving forward on sensible gun regulations to make sure that we're protecting the people of our state. But allowing a medical marijuana user does not increase those violence tendencies by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, by having marijuana users go through the ATF form like everybody else actually provides more safety mechanisms in place, that marijuana users, instead of having to go to potentially the illegal market or relying on this ATF form, that they have an opportunity to now buy it through the legal means, go through the complete background checks. It will actually provide more safety measures in place when purchasing of a gun. And this is something that's been in place for many, many decades at this point. We need to get to the ball moving on legalization. That will start to come, tickering away at some of these issues, like discrimination when it comes to an ability to participate in your Second Amendment rights.
Nikki, you mentioned your advocacy. Your fiance was the founder of one of the state's largest medical marijuana companies. You were previously a lobbyist for the medical marijuana industry. How do you respond to the criticism that there may be the appearance, at the very least, of a conflict of interest with you pushing this particular agenda?
Absolutely not. Those are made up misinformation out there. I oversee our hemp program here in the state of Florida and did exactly the opposite of what the legislature did, passing the medical marijuana, which is a very restrictive program, created a very open process, making sure that everybody's got an equal opportunity to participate in the hemp industry. And that's what we've been doing. So any perceived conflict of interest is a made up conflict of interest. I have been an advocate for almost my entire life on medical marijuana and legalization. I am proud of my record pushing the envelope when it comes to not only legalization of hemp, but making sure that our patients have more affordable access to medical marijuana and finally getting our state and our nation towards legalization.
So I also have to ask you about this ruling that came out of course, Florida, blocking the federal mask mandate on transportation. You tweeted out a photo of yourself without your mask saying, "Peace out to the TSA mask mandate." Can you tell us why you felt compelled to do this when you did it? I mean, because the Biden administration now, it's appealing that ruling of that federal judge because of what the CDC has said is a necessary mask mandate.
Well, I think, first of all, we need to take a little step back, Katie. And, for the last 2 years, we all as a nation, as a world, at our state, have been dealing with this pandemic. We haven't had a governor who went MIA, who was yelling at people during this pandemic, yelling at reporters. And it was myself and my administration who stepped up to the plate, had press conference after press conference every single day, giving transparency, protecting the people of our state, encouraging vaccines, encouraging masks all across our state, protecting our children and our school system. My record on protecting the people of our state is never going to be questioned because we were there when the people of our state needed them. But we also know that, we have seen almost 66% of our country that have been vaccinated. Almost 75% have at least had one shot. I will continue to encourage people to mask up if in fact you are vulnerable or around people that are vulnerable. But the country is ready to move on. We have the tools in place. And let me also say this too, that the 33-year-old judge who, as an attorney, myself and the ABA had all said that she was not qualified, that she definitely overstepped. And I agree with the appeal on making sure that we are not setting up an awful precedence, that the CDC can't create guidelines for our health for our country. But of course, we are seeing that because Democrats have been staunch advocates for vaccines. I made sure that vaccines were available to all parts of our state when our governor refused to do so, making sure there was additional testing sites. And so that's where we are. And certainly if, we get into a situation where we're seeing the uptick in numbers again, you'll see my continued transparency and honesty to the people of our state of what we need to do to protect our neighbors, to protect our communities, and to make sure we're protecting ourselves.
I mean, you mentioned that people are ready to move on, but in fairness to the immunocompromised and perhaps the parents of those that have children 5 and under, as the governor, if you're elected, of the state of Florida, of the people of the state of Florida, do you think you can reconcile what you've just said with the concerns, the medical concerns that those folks may have?
Of course, because I have been listening to the medical community from day one. I talked to the medical community, and certainly there are people out there that are immunocompromised, including my own family. I've got a 92-year-old grandmother. My mother just finished a 2-year stint of cancer. My aunt just went through kidney transplant 2 years ago. I know that, and so when I'm around them, I make sure that I'm taking precautions. I'm wearing masks, and I think this is about a personal choice, but also making sure that you are doing what is right for your family and for the people around you. And so as we kind of move into hopefully this stage of endemic instead of pandemic, that we all take personal responsibility, that we're upfront, and that we're respectful. And that's something that has been missing in this debate on both sides of the aisle, that whether you wear a mask or you don't wear a mask, we have to respect people's choices at this point. Even the president said this week that is a personal choice. And we need to start getting back there, but listening to science, listening to data, listening to the experts in this industry. As government, we are there to help those conversations and to make sure that we're pushing the correct science, not misinformation that you're seeing from our Surgeon General here in the state of Florida.
Yeah, we definitely know about the Surgeon General. Nikki Fried, I do want to note you were the only statewide elected Democrat to office, so we wish you the very best of luck with your candidacy for the primary. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me.
Of course.